Hey, y'all, and welcome to Polit. My name is Brian, and Representative Mike Flood just takes a battering ram to Kaitlan Collins and proves why he's one of the most pure representatives in the entire Congress. Let's dive in.
You talk about state sovereignty and saying, if the majority does that and the state legislature wants to do that, then they should. But they're under pressure from the White House to do this. I mean, the White House are the ones who reached out to Texas and urged them to do this. They're now trying to get other states to do it too.
Well, listen, Beto O'Rourke came to Omaha 2 nights ago, and his message to Democrats in Omaha was, you get ruthless. We will not get our power back unless we're ruthless. Like, we're up against people here that will do anything. Trust me. I've got people in costumes following me out of bathrooms in Lincoln, Nebraska. There is a problem in this country. Like, the Democrats are motivated. Their tagline is ruthless, and their goal is power. So yeah, that's the world we're living in.
I think some people might look at that and say, well, Beto O'Rourke is, an unsuccessful Senate candidate. J.D. Vance is the vice president of the United States, putting that pressure on. But let me ask you, because you did have a raucous town hall the other night. I think a lot of people have seen it. Part of the questions that you were asked was about the bill that Republicans just passed in Congress. And because of higher borrowing costs, we actually have just heard from the Congressional Budget Office that now says that mega bill is actually going to add $4.1 trillion to the national debt. This is something that you personally have expressed concern about before. I wonder if, based on what you heard at that town hall, you're finding it harder to sell that bill than you maybe thought it would be.
Not at all. And to clarify, yes, I am concerned about the national debt, but I have always been consistent. We have to trim spending, which we did. We cut $2 trillion out of federal spending, the most we've ever cut in 50 years in this country, and you've got to grow the economy. You don't grow the economy by allowing tax cuts to regress and put a draconian blanket of taxes across every middle-class American family. And I think there's one thing that we have to be really aware of here. In 2012, when President Obama was working to extend the George W. Bush tax cuts, he had the same argument. He says, do not pay attention to the CBO numbers that you see here, because the policy of the United States now is that these taxes have been cut. President Trump, 25, this is a convenient line that the Democrats are using. And let's be honest, if the Democrats were in power, they'd be extending these very same tax cuts. The only difference today is that working class Americans are now, their heart and soul is with the Republican Party. And what people at that town hall discovered was that they were in a party adrift, not with the working class,
but this bill,
with
obviously,
people that felt like you should not have to get a job and still get free health care. That's what they said to me.
Yeah, that was cheered when you had brought that up at one point. Obviously, there are questions about other people who do have jobs and whether or not they can still get Medicaid. But the bill did obviously a lot more than just extend the Trump tax cuts from last time around. And I do wonder, as we're watching this bill get passed, the ramifications of that, now seeing the tariffs go into full effect, if you're hearing concerns from farmers in Nebraska, who I know the last time Trump enacted tariffs on a much smaller scale, are they worried about these tariffs now that they're in full effect and how they're going to affect them?
I love that question, because I spent all day with farmers in Shelby and Rising City, Nebraska, and Butler County. And you know what they're saying? For the first time in a long time, we have a president that's paying attention to trade. Joe Biden was the first president since Jimmy Carter not to do a trade deal. When Mexico said, we won't take your white corn, Nebraska farmers said, please, President Biden, take the podium, go to bat for us. Crickets. At least when President Trump was there in 2017, he went to bat for the farmers. Yes, he used tariffs, but we got better deals from Canada, Mexico, and China. Farmers in Nebraska right now, we want to get into India. We want to get into Vietnam. We want to be into all these other countries that we believe he can get us into. And we'll be patient and hope that this gets done sooner rather than later. We've got a big harvest.
But last time they said
crop coming this fall.
The Nebraska Farm Bureau said in 2019 it cost them $1 billion. Is that something they can stomach again?
Well, the Nebraska Farm Bureau right now, let me tell you, prices on corn, it's 380 bushel right now. Soybeans are down. I was worried a year ago about this. We just don't have the markets to sell our crop, and we have such a good crop this year. Our yields will be high, but we're worried about what the price will be. Listen, this is complicated stuff. At least we have a president paying attention to trade. But the reality is, we've been beaten out by other countries for too long because Joe Biden and others have been asleep at the wheel.
Like I said, folks, one of the best pure representatives in Congress right now is Mike Flood. You just saw a fantastic, as a matter of fact, better than fantastic. You just saw what should be textbook that every single representative in America, even the Democrat ones, need to understand. Because not only was he able to go on to Kaitlan Collins and basically knock her out on every single point and explain, yes, this is why X is happening, and here's the result, and it's a good thing. All right, Democrats have learned how to do this, but they've learned how to take something that is objectively terrible, obviously is making things worse, and then polishes it up and makes it look like gold, even though it's, polishing a turd. But what you just witnessed was Kaitlan Collins getting essentially wrecked, and she seems to like it. She seems to like it because he understands how to tell someone to, where to go and make them enjoy it when they go down there. Hey, y'all. Experts say they rig the markets, print the money, and manipulate the system. But here's the truth. They can't print gold. While the dollar weakens, physical gold and silver stay real, tangible, uncontrolled. When banks go digital and emergencies lock you out of your own funds, gold and silver won't need an internet connection or government permission. Their value is outside the system, a time-tested insurance policy against tyranny, inflation, and economic resets. So don't wait until the trap is sprung. Own what the elites hoard behind closed doors. Physical gold and silver off the grid, because when the system fails, real money talks. And to help you learn more about owning physical gold and silver, we have partnered with the great company Goldco, which supports this channel, which we deeply appreciate. So check out politbralgold.com for more info and see if you might even qualify for free silver. That's politbralgold.com. So ultimately, Mike Flood understands his not only his constituents, but he understands the economics of his area. Nebraska is one of the breadbasket states in the very heartland of America. I really need to visit the state. I've blown two chances to say that, yes, I have been there. But I have to admit, that heartland, you cannot beat a good sunrise on those kinds of fields. Just the sheer symmetry of the just level ground and then the sun rising above it is one of the most beautiful things you can witness. And I've been to the Grand Canyon, Grand Tetons. I've hiked in Yosemite. I've seen a beautiful place or two, but I always come back to that one special moment. Because these farmers, it's not just the land itself, it's the people who work it. And these farmers know that they need to have an equal trade footing in order to sell their wares, all right, in order to sell their harvest. They can't sell in a whole bunch of countries because of the tariffs. And so they have to take their lumps and sell elsewhere, perhaps at a lower value. And yes, tariffs can hurt farmers more than anyone else. As a matter of fact, that's sort of been the history of tariffs. Do not look up the 1819 tariff and what it did for what it did to the American political process. Good grief, that was the thing that nearly broke our country, by the way. But what we're seeing now is people understanding that we need this. Okay, we need a new paradigm. The Cold War is over. The post-World War II world is gone. We are in a completely new situation. And it takes someone like Mike Flood to understand that and then make it understandable for even the people who watch CNN and Kaitlan Collins. As a matter of fact, he's so good at that he has been able to take some of these more viral town halls and turn them into gold. All right, this dude is not afraid to face the wrath of people at town halls. And when I say wrath, what my experience has been is most of these people are old Democrats who don't have anything better to do. Right? There's a handful of occasionally you'll see a good point raised up by a more masculine Democrat, And then you realize, oh, this dude's been traumatized by something else entirely, and that's why he votes the way he votes. But this dude, he has cut his teeth in politics. He used to be the head of the state legislature, and he understands that you have to face the voters. And this is from Nebraska, the Nebraska Examiner. Tuesday's event isn't the first of Flood's town halls to go viral this year. Parts of his town halls in Columbus were widely shared online after Flood told attendees that he hadn't read part of the Trump mega bill before passing it. That's a man who's saying that, hey, I know where my faults are. I know where some of the problems are. I haven't been able to read the whole thing. The bill was massive, by the way. What he does know, however, is the effects. He does know what this bill is trying to do. He does know what these tariffs are trying to bring. And he's able to face people that are, some of them have legitimate gripes with the big, beautiful bill. I understand people like Thomas Massey who are not happy with it. True fiscal conservatives that are just angry at the idea that we keep spending, but then doesn't really do enough to, actually curtail it. It's this fine line that a whole lot of people just don't know how to walk. But I believe that Mike Flood does. He has shown it time and time again. He has cut his teeth in the state legislature, even running the state legislature, and he's able to explain complicated ideals like how to trade with other nations as a Nebraska farmer. And he understands something else, that you've got to fight for your people. And the American people deserve someone who's going to fight for them. The American farmers deserve someone who's going to fight for them. Remember, folks, we are no longer in the Cold War. We no longer have to have this free trade with the rest of the world in order to keep communism at bay. Now we have to worry about, is China getting too big for its britches? Is the Suez Canal a viable canal? Same thing with the Panama Canal. There's some engineering problems that are going on right now because the lake levels aren't high enough. There are legitimate problems throughout the world that no longer have to be seen through the lens of communism versus capitalism, even though communism still exists, like in Cuba, Venezuela, and technically China, even though China's its own weird chimera. They're technically fascist. But the reality is, Mike Flood knows his people. He knows his constituents, and he knows his economy. He understands these concepts better than most. Most legislators only know a handful of what they need to know. They only know, well, most of the money comes from this part of the district, so I need to cater to all that. Or I'm really good at communicating the message, so I'll just do that. Mike Flood does all three. And he does it with gusto, and he does it with gravitas. So this is a very rare moment where I get to wax poetic about someone who understands their craft and understands their constituents. Again, I'm a politico through and through. I geek out over this stuff. But Mike Flood has done a fantastic job. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. My name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politbro. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.